State of Nibbana. Etymologically, Nibbana derives from the prefix ni, out, without, finished or ended, and vana, to blow, to go, to move, or in another sense, a restraint. It can be used in relation to fire or burning, meaning extinguishing, quenching, cooling, or coolness, but not extinction. In reference to the mind, it means peaceful, refreshed and happy, an absence of agitation and anxiety. Similarly, it refers to the end of defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion. The commentaries and sub-commentaries usually define Nibbana as the end of or escape from craving, which binds people to repeated existence. When the round of rebirth, samsara vata, ends, freedom from rebirth, vivata, takes over immediately and automatically. One does not travel from a place of samsara vata to a place of vivata unless one is speaking figuratively or comparatively. Ignorance, craving, and clinging cease, and Nibbana appears simultaneously in their place. One can say that the cessation of ignorance, craving, and clinging is Nibbana. Ignorance, craving, and clinging disturb the minds of unenlightened people, puthujjana, and conceal wisdom. They entangle the mind with defilements, kilesa, and distort vision. When ignorance, craving, and clinging cease, luminous wisdom, vijja, arises. With such wisdom, one sees all things accurately, not through the lens of one's desires. A person's perception, attitudes, and personality change. A new knowledge and vision arise. Things appear that one has never known, seen, or conceived of, because they were concealed in the shadows, or because one was preoccupied with other objects. The mind unfolds and expands measurably. It is clear, free, resplendent, peaceful, and profound. When the state of Nibbana is reached, one knows this for oneself. Nibbana is to be seen for oneself, timeless, inviting one to come and see, to be brought within and realized, to be experienced individually by the wise. Ordinary people are unable to comprehend or imagine the state of Nibbana. When encountering new concepts, people normally use previous knowledge as a basis for comparison, and in attempting to understand Nibbana, they create an image that is a composite of pre-existing perceptions. Take, for example, a person who has never heard of an elephant. On hearing the word elephant, he may think it is a foreign word, or simply nonsense. Learning that an elephant is an animal, he may consider all animals, from ants to whales, irrespective of size or type. The image is clearer when he is told that an elephant is an enormous land animal with big ears, small eyes, tusk, and a trunk. This image may be close to reality or far from it. If he were to draw a picture on paper of what he sees in his mind, it may resemble some bizarre mythological beast, having never seen the real thing. He uses similar perceptions to create an elaborate new image. The image will depend both on the accuracy of the speaker's descriptions of the object and on the listener's stored perceptions used as components for a new perception. In the case of something utterly different from anything previously perceived and thoroughly incomparable, The listener has no way to conceive of it. If he attempts to understand this thing by means of familiar concepts and perceptions, the only reasonable way for the speaker to respond is by negation. Further speculation by the listener, using stored perceptions for comparison, can easily lead to misunderstanding. He may even go so far as outright rejection, accusing the speaker of deception and claiming that the thing in question does not exist. Such rejection, based on unfamiliarity and an inability to conceive of something, would be ungrounded. Nibbana is beyond everything known by ordinary people, beyond their sphere and range, surpassing cognition, influenced by ignorance, craving, and clinging. It is a state arrived at directly with the abandonment of defilements, like sliding back a screen and seeing the sky. Nibbana has no properties similar to things known by ordinary people, but claiming Nibbana does not exist is incorrect. The following fable has been used to illustrate how the unknown is not necessarily the unreal. A fish and a turtle were close friends. The fish had spent its entire life in a lake, whereas the amphibious turtle knew both land and lake. One day the turtle returned to the lake after a walk on land. He told the fish how refreshing it was to walk on land, among open fields and a pleasant breeze. The fish listened for a while, perplexed, and thought, "What is walking? What is dry land? How can there be happiness without water? Certainly it just spells death." The fish grew impatient and interrupted the turtle, seeking a clarification. The turtle explained using earth terms. When the fish inquired with the water terms, the turtle could only reject them. The turtle could not find any suitable comparisons, and the fish thus concluded that the turtle was lying, that the story wasn't true. Dry land does not exist, and nor do fields, pleasant breezes, or happiness outside of water. The turtle spoke of something that does exist, but it lay beyond the fish's ken. Since the fish had never been on land, it was unable to understand. Consider the distinct experience and perception arising from each of the senses. Sense impressions differ absolutely from each other and are not comparable. Sights cannot be compared with sounds, nor can sounds with smells. A person blind from birth cannot understand the nature of green, red, orange, pink, or other characteristics of sight, using perceptual knowledge from other sense bases. Words such as loud, faint, malodorous, fragrant, sour, or sweet would all be inadequate. No one can accurately explain to a person born without the scent of smell the quality of fetid, fragrant, the smell of roses, citrus, or jasmine. Words such as red, blue, heavy, light, fat, thin, bitter, and salty would all be unsuitable. Human beings have 5 sense organs for cognizing the world's properties. The sense objects are Ramana. Knowledge surpassing the domain of mundane objects generally remains hidden. Even the 5 recognized sense objects are known according to disparate qualities. Lack of familiarity or an inability to conceive of something is therefore not a guarantee of its non-existence. Soon after the Buddha's enlightenment, before proclaiming the Dhamma, he had this thought: The Dhamma that I have attained is profound, difficult to see, difficult to realize, peaceful, excellent, not accessible by reasoning, subtle, to be known by the wise. This is followed by the verse, I should not now teach what I have attained with such tribulation. This Dhamma cannot be easily realized by those overcome with greed and hatred. Beings dyed in lust, enveloped in darkness, ignorance, will not discern that which goes against the current, is subtle, profound, difficult to see, refined. Despite its complexity, the Buddha did make great effort to teach and explain the Dhamma. However, Nibbana cannot be penetrated by mere thought. No words or perceptions exist to accurately describe or define it. Conceptualizing and disputing the subject of Nibbana only leads to misunderstanding. The correct way is to apply the teachings so as to arrive at Nibbana and see it clearly for oneself. With proper determination rather than being inconceivable or indescribable, Nibbana is merely difficult to see, difficult to realize, as quoted by the Buddha above. It is worth noting the expressions the Buddha used when he spoke about Nibbana. The definitions of Nibbana can be summarized in the following 4 ways. By negation. Those expressions marking the renunciation and removal of some inferior, unlovely, or disadvantageous condition belonging to the round of rebirth, vata, for example. Nibbana is the end of greed, hatred, and delusion. Nibbana is the cessation of becoming. Nibbana is the end of craving and the end of suffering. Such descriptions also use terms revealing a quality directly opposite to an attribute of vata. For example, Nibbana is unconditioned, asankata, ageless, jara, and deathless, atta. By synonym. Those terms indicating completion or perfection, for example, santa, peaceful, panita, excellent, suddhi, pure, and kema, secure. 3. By simile and metaphor. Similes are more often used for explaining the state and traits of a person who has attained Nibbana than for Nibbana itself. For example, the comparison of an arahant to a bull leading his herd across the river to arrive at the other side, or to a person crossing a great ocean filled with dangers and reaching the shore. The Buddha claimed that it is inaccurate to say an arahant is reborn, reappears somewhere, or is not born. He compared an arahant to a fire that is extinguished because there is no more fuel. There are some direct similes. For example, Nibbana is like a tranquil, pleasant region, like the other shore, secure and free from danger, and like a message of truth. There are many metaphors. For example, arogya, without illness, perfect health, dipa, an island, freedom from danger, and lena, a cave, shelter from danger. In later scriptures composed by disciples, there are metaphors referring to Nibbana as a city. Example, Pura Mutamang, magnificent city, and Nibbana Nagara, fortress of Nibbana, used as an oratorical and literary terms. Thai idioms include great deathless citadel, amata mahan agara nirvana, and crystal city. But these later words are not recognized as accurate terms revealing the true state of Nibbana. 4. By direct explanation. These explanations occur in only a few places, but they are of much interest to scholars, especially for those who consider Buddhism a philosophy. The varying interpretations have given rise to numerous debates. I have presented a selection below. Epithets for Nibbana are occasionally found grouped in a single passage. Examples of all four kinds of definition are listed below in Pali alphabetical order. Akanha asukha, not black, not white, not confined to social class or caste, neither good nor bad, neither punna nor papa. Akata, not made, not built. Akinkana, nothing lingering in the mind, free from anxiety. Akuto baya, fearless. Akuta, immovable, undeparting. Acharya, marvelous. Ajara, ajara, ageless, undecaying. Ajata, not born. Anatta, not swayed, an absence of craving. Ananta, limitless. Anadana, no grasping. Anapara, sublime, foremost. Analaya, without longing, an absence of clinging. Anasava, without asava, effluence, taints. Anidasana, not seen with the eye, signless. Anitika, without calamity. Anuttara, unsurpassed, supreme. Apalokita, not disintegrating, not dissolving. Abhaya, free of danger. Abhutta, has not been before, wonderful. Abhiyadi, without disease. Abhiyapaja, without oppression, free from dukkha. Abhuta, not coming to be. Amata, deathless. Amosa Dhamma, not declining, immutable. Asankilita, undefiled. Asankupa, unshakable. Asankata, not constructed. Sanhira, unshifting. Asoka, sorrowless. Arogya, without sickness, perfect health. Is Arya, freedom, mastership. Kema, security, safety. Tanha Kaya, the end of craving. Tana, defender, protection. Deepa, island, refuge. Dukkha Kaya, the end of suffering. Dasa, difficult to see. Duva, enduring. Nipunna, subtle. Nipapancha, without obstructive defilements, without papancha. Nibbana, the cessation of defilements and all suffering. Nibbiti, cooling, the allayment of affliction. Nirodha, cessation of suffering. Pranita, excellent. Paramatta, the supreme benefit. Paramasatcha, the supreme truth. Para, the other shore, safe destination. Mutti, release, emancipation. Moksha, salvation. Yoga Kema, freedom from bondage. Lena, sanctuary, shelter from danger. Vimutti, liberation, freedom. Vimoksha, liberation. Viraja, stainless. Viraga, the fading, cooling off, and expiration of lust. Visuddhi, purity, impeccable. Satcha, truth. Santa, peaceful, still. Santi, peaceful. Sarana, refuge. Siva, highest bliss. Suddhi, purity. Suddhasa, exceedingly difficult to see. There are many more references and descriptions for Nibbana in the scriptures, containing verses by disciples and in the commentaries. Example, Nidesa Patisambhidamaga Theragata Therigata Apadana, as well as in later scriptures. Example, Abhidana Padipika. Examples are listed below. Akara, imperishable, interminable. Akalita, unfaltering. Achala, unwavering. Anna Ramana, free from constraints, independent of sense objects. Anupada, not born. Apavaga, without formations. Sankara, final emancipation. Amarana, deathless. Arupa, without rupa, formless. Asapata, without enemies. Asambada, unconfined, unoppressed. Kevala, unadulterated, inherently complete. Nitya, constant, certain. Nirupatapa, free from distress. Patipasadi, tranquility, calm. Pada, place to be reached, destination. Para, the beyond, the ultimate. Pariyosana, conclusion, goal. Pahana, the abandonment of defilements. Vivata, deliverance from the round of rebirth. Vata, without vata. Vupasama, stillness. Some of these terms are very important, since they are repeatedly used as definitions for Nibbana. For example, Sankata, Nirodha, Vimutti, Viraga, Santa, and Santi. Other words are used infrequently. Some are used in only one location, others in 2 or 3 locations. So they should not be regarded as highly significant. They are included here to increase understanding. The same is true for the translations. They provide some sense of the meaning, but they might not give a complete flavor as they lack the supportive context. And very important, many terms were familiar to people in the specific time period, region, and community in which the Buddha taught, and the term were associated with their personal values or religious beliefs. When the words were spoken, the listeners probably understood the meaning completely. Sometimes the Buddha used descriptive words for Nibbana to facilitate communication while substituting a new meaning in accord with Buddha Dharma. People outside of those time periods, places, and groups may not completely understand the meaning of these words. An important word for describing Nibbana is asankata, not constructed. Nibbana does not exist as a result of causes and conditions. It may be claimed that Nibbana must arise from causes, since Nibbana is the fruit of Magga, the path, the way, or of practice in accordance with the way. This doubt can be answered briefly by way of analogy. If we compare practice for reaching Nibbana with traveling to the city of Chiang Mai, we see that Chiang Mai, which is the goal of the journey, is not the result of the path or the act of traveling. Regardless of the road or of traveling, Chiang Mai exists. The road and traveling are causes for reaching Chiang Mai, but not for Chiang Mai itself. It is the same with the path and practice along the path, which are causes for attaining Nibbana, but not for Nibbana itself. Apart from Vimutti, there are many other synonyms that reveal facets of Nibbana, as presented earlier. Of all these synonyms, there are two often used words that represent important properties, Visuddhi and Santi. Visuddhi is purity or cleanliness, the absence of defilements which tarnish and obscure, and refers to the ability to see things clearly. Santi is peace, the absence of agitation and affliction, the end of turmoil. This state of mind is serene, deep, cool, settled, self-reliant, able to fully experience the fruits of practice, and ready to be employed for action. The few passages that explain this state of Nibbana explicitly are presented below. In some cases, a story is provided in order to give the context for the Buddha's words. 1. At one time the Buddha gave a Dhamma discourse to the bhikkhus concerning Nibbana. As the bhikkhus were listening intently, the Buddha uttered this exclamation: Monks, there exists that sphere, ayatana, where there is neither the earth, water, fire, or air elements, nor the realm of infinite space, nor the realm of infinite consciousness, nor the realm of nothingness, nor the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, nor this world, nor the next world, nor the moon, nor the sun. I do not say that that sphere has going, coming, arising, staying, or passing away. It has neither foundation nor movement, nor constraint as Ramana. That is the end of suffering. 2. On another occasion the Buddha gave a similar teaching to the bhikkhus and uttered this verse: Indeed, anatta, the state of not inclining towards birth, being without craving a Nibbana, is difficult to see, truth such as not easily discerned. Having penetrated craving, and by knowing and seeing the truth, there will be nothing lingering in the mind, nothing to cause mental anxiety. 3. On a similar occasion, monks, there is the not born, ajatta, not become, abhutta, not made, akata, not constructed, asankata. If there were not the not born, not become, not made, not constructed, then there could not be the known, the escape here from the born, the become, the made, and the constructed. But because there is the not born, not become, not made, not constructed, therefore the escape here can be known from the born, become, made, and constructed. For on a similar occasion, still being dependent, there is wavering. Not being dependent, there is no wavering. There being no wavering, there is tranquility. With tranquility, there is no favouring. With no favouring, no coming and going. With no coming and going, no passing away and arising. With no passing away and arising, there is neither this world, the other world, nor between the two. This is the end of suffering. 5. Another account describes the Buddha correcting the view of a Brahma. In brief, at one time this pernicious view arose in the Brahma named Baka. This abode of Brahma is permanent, enduring, and eternal. It is absolute and imperishable. This abode of Brahma is not born. It does not originate, age, die, or pass away. A superior salvation cannot be found. The Buddha, knowing Baka's thought, went to him and said, Brahma, you have lapsed into ignorance, therefore you claim that which is impermanent as permanent, unstable as enduring, and uneternal as eternal. And there being a superior salvation, you claim there is none. Then Mara possessed one of Brahma's retinue, who spoke to the Buddha. Bhikkhu, Bhikkhu, do not offend Brahma, do not offend Brahma. This is Brahma, the great Brahma, the Lord Abhibhu, the unvanquished, the all-seeing one, the omnipotent, the sovereign, the maker, the creator, excellence, providence, the master, father of those born and to be born. The Buddha admonished Mara, finishing with, Brahma and all his company and retinue are in your hands, are in your power, but I have not fallen into your hands, nor am I under your power. When Baka maintained, I have declared the permanent as permanent, the enduring as enduring, the eternal as eternal, the Buddha announced that there are many things that Brahma does not know, including the state that can be known, Vijnana, not seen with the eyes, Anidasana, limitless, Ananta, and all radiant, Sabatopaba, which the solidity of earth cannot hold, the wetness of water, the heat of fire, the movement of wind cannot hold, the existence of beings, the divinity of devas, the rule of Pajapati, the grandeur of Brahma, the brilliance of Abhasara Brahmas, the beauty of the Shubhakinha Brahmas, the abundance of Vehapala Brahmas cannot hold, the lordship of the Lord cannot hold, the characteristics of all things cannot hold. Baka replied to this by saying that he would vanish from sight, but he was unable to do so. The Buddha in turn said he would vanish, and did vanish. Brahma and his retinue could only hear his voice speaking. Having seen the danger in being, and seen the existence of those who seek non-being, bhava, I do not praise any sort of being, nor cling to delight, i.e. bhavatanha, the craving for being. 6. Another story tells of a bhikkhu who travelled through every realm until he reached the Brahma world, seeking an answer to a question. This bhikkhu had the following doubts. Where are the four great elements, earth, water, fire, and air, extinguished without remainder? He then entered a state of concentration and visited the various deities, beginning with the realm of the four great kings, to pose his question. Unable to answer him, the gods suggested he go to progressively higher heaven realms until they arrived at the Brahma world. The Brahmas too could not answer, but said that the great Brahma, the Lord, would surely know. With a splendid radiance, the great Brahma revealed himself to that bhikkhu. The bhikkhu posed his question to the great Brahma, who prevaricated, I am Brahma, great Brahma, the Lord, the unvanquished, the all-seeing one, the omnipotent, the sovereign, the maker, the creator, excellence, providence, the master, father of those born and to be born. The bhikkhu continued, I did not ask you if you are a Brahma, great Brahma, the Lord. I asked you where the four great elements are extinguished without remainder. Brahma replied again that he is great Brahma, the Lord, etc. The bhikkhu asked again for the third time, at which point Brahma took him by the arm and led him to one side, saying, Monk, these gods, followers of Brahma, recognize me as one for whom there is nothing to be known, seen, experienced, or realized. Therefore I did not answer in front of them. Monk, I also do not know where the four great elements are extinguished without remainder. It is thus your misdeed and mistake that you have abandoned the Blessed One, and come to search for an answer to this problem elsewhere. Go and approach the Blessed One to pose this question, and accept whatever answer he gives. The bhikkhu then went to ask the Buddha, who answered, You should not ask where are the four great elements, earth, water, fire, and air, extinguished without remainder. You should ask, where can earth, water, fire, and air find no footing? Where can no long and short, small and large, beautiful and repulsive find no firm ground. Where do mentality and corporeality terminate without remainder? He then asked as follows. The state that can be known, vijnana, is not seen with the eyes, anidasana. It is limitless, ananta, and can be reached from every direction, sabatopa. Here earth, water, fire, and air can find no footing. Long and short, fine and coarse, beautiful and repulsive, can find no firm ground. Mentality and corporeality terminate without remainder. Because sense consciousness, vijnana, ceases, mentality and corporeality terminate here. These descriptions of Nibbana have resulted in various interpretations and debates. Some scholars interpret the last two passages as a Buddhist attempt to combat Brahmanism by assimilation, by incorporating the Brahmanic personification of God. Note that in all these passages the Buddha was either teaching bhikkhus who had a basic knowledge of Dhamma, or was speaking to Brahma, who is a master theoretician. I will not elaborate upon these details here, but remember that this disparity of interpretation arises because Nibbana cannot be conceived of. It must be known directly through spiritual practice. Pali words are sometimes translated differently. The word ayatana in the first passage, for example, can be translated as sphere, and in some interpret this to mean dwelling or place. Others interpret ayatana as another dimension. The term vijnana in passages 5 and 6 is considered by some to be identical with vijnana in the expressions eye vijnana, ear vijnana, etc. They thus interpret Nibbana as some form of consciousness, defining Nibbana as a consciousness that is not seen with the eyes, etc. In the commentaries, however, vijnana is explained in this passage to be a name for Nibbana, the state that can be known, as used above. We can see that in passage 6 the word vijnana occurs twice. The first vijnana refers to Nibbana, with its own distinct translation, the state that can be known, while the latter vijnana in the phrase vijnana ceases refers to the consciousness that is the condition for the arising of mentality and corporeality, as explained in dependent origination. We should refrain from drawing conclusions about Nibbana simply because an interpretation accords with our preferences and preoccupations. If we establish firm convictions about something we do not yet clearly know, we may be greatly deceived. Rather, we should emphasize those methods leading to Nibbana, along with the benefits of gradual liberation. This is more practical. As our spiritual practice develops, we will clearly see the results for ourselves. The following quote is an affirmation by the Buddha that the realization of Nibbana and other sublime states can truly occur when the eye of wisdom opens. This is the Buddha's conversation with the Brahman student Subha. The Buddha refutes the Brahman Pakarasati's assertion that it is impossible for humans to experience superlative knowledge and vision, jnana dasana. Young man, suppose there were a person blind from birth who could not see black forms, white forms, green, yellow, red, or pink forms. He could not see even and uneven forms, the stars, the moon, or the sun. Were he to say that black and white forms do not exist, and beholders of black and white forms do not exist, that green forms do not exist, and beholders of green forms do not exist, that the moon and sun do not exist, and beholders of the moon and sun do not exist, Were he to say, I do not know or see those things, therefore they do not exist, would he be speaking correctly? Incorrectly, the young man replied. The Buddha then continued, just so the Brahmin Pokarasati of the Opamana clan, lord of the Shibaga Grove, is blind and visionless, that he could know, see, or realize outstanding knowledge and vision, which is competent, excellent, and superhuman, is possible. Although we may have considered these explanations of Nibbana, if we have not practiced and arrived at the state, we should remember that all ideas of Nibbana are comparable to the images of blind men formed after touching the elephant. The story from the Pali in brief is as follows. At one time in the city of Savatthi, a large number of religious ascetics, wanderers, and Brahmins of various creeds adhered to their own beliefs and doctrines as the only truth, while repudiating those of others. This gave rise to quarrelling. The truth is this way, not that way. The truth is not that way, it is this way. In response, the Buddha told the following story. In former times, the king of Savatthi ordered his advisers to gather all those men in the city who were blind from birth and present them with an elephant. The advisers showed one group of blind men the elephant's head. To another they showed the elephant's ear. They showed the tusks to another group, the trunk, the abdomen, the legs, the back, the tail, the tip of the tail to each respective group, saying each time that this is an elephant. They then informed the king that the blind men had become familiar with the elephant. The king went to the gathering of the blind and asked them, "Have you seen the elephant?" They replied, "We have, your majesty." The king inquired further, "As you say you have seen an elephant, describe it to me." Those blind men who had touched the head said that an elephant is like a water pot. Those who had felt the ears said an elephant is like a winnowing basket. Those who had touched the tusks, a plough-snare. Those who had touched the trunk, a plough shaft. Those who had touched the abdomen said an elephant is like a granary. Those who had touched the legs claimed it is like a pillar. Those who touched the back, a mortar. Those who touched the tail, a pestle. Those who touched the tip of the tail said an elephant is like a broom. When this was finished, the blind men began to argue. An elephant is this way, not that way. An elephant is not that way, it is this way, to the point of brawling. At the end, the Buddha uttered this verse. Indeed, some ascetics and Brahmins cling to such views and doctrines, people who see only one part, being contentious, argue and quarrel.